Monitor risks. The monitor risks process is all about keeping track of risks and implementing risk response plans. As you can see on the screen here, we have a fairly updated risk register. It has the identified risks and the qualitative and quantitative risk analysis information and the planned risk responses. But in this process, we monitor. We want to make sure that we have done what we should, and we also want to check the effectiveness of our risk responses. So let's take a look at our inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs. The first input, as usual, is the project management plan, because it contains our risk management plan, which guides us on how to carry out this process. The processes and procedures that are documented therein should be followed. Our next input is project documents. You need your risk register first and foremost as you look at these project documents. The next input is one of our regular ones in the monitoring and controlling process group, and it's called work performance data. Examples of work performance data in the risk domain are things such as the project status on risk responses that have been implemented, risks that have occurred, risks that are active, and those that have been closed out. Another very important input here is work performance reports. Now, you remember these work performance reports come from monitor and control project work, and they become an input here because these work performance reports give us an idea on how effective our risk management has been. These work performance reports could contain information relating to earned value data and forecasting data that could be relevant when we are monitoring risk items. Let's talk about the tools and techniques. The first one is data analysis. We could take a look at the technical performance on a project. Less functionality than planned at a milestone could be a red flag. For that reason, we want to be aware of technical performance measurements. We want to do a technical performance analysis on the available measurements that show us when we are meeting our targets. Examples of these technical performance measures that come into play here are things like weight of a deliverable or a product or an item, transaction times, the number of delivered defects, storage capacity, and so on. Also here we talk about reserve analysis. In data analysis, we want to do a reserve analysis to make sure that we've got enough reserves or buffers to satisfy the project needs. The next tool and technique is audits. And when we talk about audits, we mean risk audits. And these risk audits help us assess and analyze how effective our risk management has been, how effective our risk management process is. The project manager, of course, is responsible for making sure these risk audits happen at the defined frequency. These risk audits could be held as part of a meeting, or they could be held separately. The next tool and technique is meetings. Of course, we need meetings as a vehicle to meet and do our analysis and so on. And within meetings, we could have risk reviews to check the effectiveness of our risk responses. Let's take a look at the outputs of this process. The first one is work performance information. Remember, where you see work performance data going into a process, you see work performance information going out. Now here we have both work performance data and work performance reports going in order to generate work performance information of a risk nature that will get put back into a work performance report. So this is a cycle of events. Very important to note how we have all the WPs, WPD, WPR, and WPI in monitor risks. Our next output is change requests. There could be a variety of changes as a result of this process. We may need corrective or preventive action to bring our results back in alignment with a plan. The next output is project management plan updates. We could have updates to various components of the project management plan. Of course, this should go through the Perform Integrated Change Control process. We could also have the update, project documents updates. All sorts of updates, but don't forget our risk register is one of the things that is definitely going to be updated here, and the risk report. Our final output is organizational process assets updates. And this refers to templates for the risk management plan, risk register, risk report, and our risk breakdown structure. There's a whole lot of stuff that happens in risk management, but we definitely want to make sure that we capture those lessons learned. And that concludes the monitor risks process. I'll just say risk is huge. It's a beast. There's 7 different processes here, and you definitely want to dissect each one as carefully as possible. In instances where you see project management plan and project documents, seek to understand which of these components is most important. And in this chapter, we see that the risk register, front and center, is very important. It's subliminally part of the project documents updates, but we see it again as project documents going into each one. So don't forget the risk register. This is really what is giving us leverage to analyze the risks and update the risks. It's in this risk register that a lot of the responses are documented. It's in this risk register that we document our responses, we document updates, and it gives us the leverage to make decisions of a risk-related nature. That concludes our monitor risks process.